release to our first release to both EDU and production tomorrow morning. And so I thought that that's what we would talk about, unless anybody's got anything outstanding. I don't see anything in the chat, questions to go. So we could start first if anybody in the group has questions or issues. Go ahead, CW.
Yeah, good afternoon. Trying to finish the blind, and I know I've bothered Wes with this a handful, but my AA's he can't even find the blind now in his profile. And then the AA trainee, I can't pull him up as a collaborator, and I understand I'm not right in there and making sure he clicks boxes, but there seems to be quite a delay. Wes sent some stuff to try to fix, and I'm just trying to figure out what the best avenue is, because we're trying to publish this blind decision, and the AA keeps running into roadblocks. I was trying to figure out if anybody else has had that issue, or what I can suggest. Anything else I can suggest to them.
Do you want to pull it up live and take a look at it?
Sure. I have it up right now if you want me to share, or if you want to drive.
I'll drive, just because I have some extra superpowers. So
yeah, it's just feeling like when my AA proper got in there, it just shows him, it's telling him he's not even a collaborator. Even though on my view, he is the approver, and it's also under the collaborator, and his box is checked as the collaborator. And then I ended up having another individual that was showing as ability to choose as an approver, but I know he might have accidentally clicked it, but he shouldn't be an approver.
Aha. So a couple things that we can check. And so what I'm thinking about as far as your approver possibly is if somehow they have multiple FAMOF accounts, and one of them is assigned and the other one isn't, and they logged in with the other one, that could be, but that's a far stretch.
He originally was having some issues with, it wouldn't pull up in Chrome, and then he switched to Edge, and then it showed. So Matt McGrath is the approver. I can't add Brandon McKinney, who's the AA trainee. I can't find him under the, and he says that he did it last week. And I know that maybe he might be doing something different, but I'm just giving him the benefit of the doubt here with some of these growing pains we're experiencing right now.
And I will say, so that's one of the most frequently asked questions, is that I've had my user says that they have gotten their role approved in FAMOS, but I can't find them in the collaborator list. And it's generally because the user hasn't been in and created a database record in the application itself. And the other is that the profile doesn't cross. So if a user does it in EDU, they have to do it again in yeah.
Yeah, because McGrath ended up, he showed me a screenshot. He had it, and then I found him like the next day. He showed up as an option under adding a collaborator, and then under his approver box was active after like a day. But I could add him as a collaborator, and then came in later and after like a 24-hour window, and then I was able to click him as the approver.
Go ahead, Rick.
Yeah. Hey, CW. When you go into an incident, it actually, as soon as you click on an incident, it pulls a list of collaborators and users, and that's what it's using to give you that list you can pick from. So it might also be something on your end where if he's added and you've had your session active, like if you're still in WFDSS or still in that incident, you might actually need to go out and come back for it to show up in your list. But it should be available. It's available in the system right away once it's approved in FAMWA.
Okay. Yeah, we were also having some experiencing some weird bugs where there wasn't a planning area automatically brought into it, and then when I tried to upload or draw a planning area, it wasn't getting saved. And I know Wes helped me with some of that. Looks like there was some fix that went through, but it was one of those. He was sitting right next to me. The AA was sitting right next to me. Was trying to go through that, and it, growing pains were happening on both ends.
Yeah, that's definitely not ideal. What's the name of the trainee that you were looking for? I just want to see if I can.
Brandon McKinney. Last name is spelled Maria Charlie Kilo Echo Nora Echo Yankee.
Okay, I was able to pull him up. He just does not have. Well, he's not been in the system because it still shows his system roles are viewer. And so that's one good way to see where folks haven't been in the system yet themselves, or they haven't come in with approved roles. So we might check his role as well, because he would need to have editor to be able to click his approver box.
Okay,
Wes said he just granted him editor. So if he logs out and logs back in, he should be able to click this approver, and save, which would then give him give you the ability to add him as a approver.
Okay. And are we putting AA trainees as approvers, or should they stay as editors?
So I've seen it both ways, and right now we can only have one approver approve and publish the decision. And so either the trainee can do it and have a concurrence written up as part of the rationale by the trainer, or the trainer could go along and just do that last part, the assign and approve. So I think to be able to submit the approval, they'd have to be, excuse me, self-certified as an approver. And so if they want that part of the action, as long as they're being supervised, that's really up to the trainer, I would say.
Okay,
unless
yeah, because
other folks have thoughts on that.
Yeah, because I know the proper AA proper wants him to put the rationale, so he needs to be an approver to be able to put the rationale, and do the approver narrative boxes, I guess. So I guess he'd have to be an approver.
Yeah, so the approver narrative boxes, yes, but not the rationale. I think that is any collaborating editor.
Okay.
Until later today, Sarah, because that will be
is that
part of
the
1.0.1. Yeah.
Okay. So tomorrow.
That was broken. Mm-hmm.
So you saying like after tomorrow that we could do the old copy and paste if we get a rationale as an editor?
Yeah. Yep.
Awesome. That's awesome.
But so if you wanted, like, in terms of being able, someplace to put the documentation for even not just trainees and trainers, but also multiple approvers to fill that concurrence in, you can do that. I would still do it in the decision rationale for now, but you could also, once this the assessment approval notes persist, that's another good place to do that. I don't do that today. But just so it's documented that as a trainer, I have the full blah, blah, blah.
Okay. And then and I
Wes has got his hand up now.
go for it, Wes.
He didn't like my blah blah blah.
I'm not sure if it's completely related or not, but looking at Matt's profile, CW, he didn't complete the profile setup, so he didn't put in his phone number, which is a required field, and that could potentially be causing him some issues showing as a collaborator. So if you have Matt go back into his profile and put in his phone number and save again, maybe that would shake him loose.
Okay.
Not 100% on that, but we could try it because that is missing from his profile.
All right. I will. Yeah, I asked him if he filled out his things, and he told me he did. So I'll mention that. It looks like the phone number didn't set. And then I guess I appreciate the help there. Kind of a curiosity for the group. So this is a fire for resource benefit, whatever you want to call it. And we did the rapid risk assessment that Richie and Will Downing and some others have been working on. Do you have any thoughts on where the best place to maybe capture some of that documentation is? Right now, I have it in the course of action as a desired outcome, and took some screenshots of some of the maps from the large fire potential growth to what we're doing right now. So I was just trying to figure, and I just took a screenshot and tried to include it somewhere, but wondering if the group has any thoughts.
I think you're on the right track there, CW. I would recommend course of action, and then in the rationale as well, from the approver side, to just help justify, the intentions behind the fire itself. But I think you're on the right course of putting it in the course of action, looking at the outcome.
And is there it's under the natural ignitions course of action, Sarah, if you wanted to take a look at it. And then I was trying to get them side by side, but it doesn't seem like I could put the JPEGs side by side. They'll either have to be, on top of each other or something like that. Am I just doing something wrong, or is that not quite the option right now? I've shrunk them and all that good stuff, but the third one.
You're talking when you paste them into those
Natural
rich
ignition.
text boxes?
A-firm.
Okay.
So it's like right now, that's how they look, and it kind of looks clunky to me.
The one thing you can do is you can change the size.
Yeah, I got them really small, or not really small, but I went down to like they're 40% or something like that, and then I just couldn't get them to be side by side.
That you might actually have to pull them in that way. I don't know if the rich text boxes will give us, they don't give us a layout option like that where we can throw them side by side. But if you're looking for something like that, I mean, and you threw it into PowerPoint, kind of looks like some of the stuff you've got here was set up there. Maybe just throw them side by side in PowerPoint, save that as an image. You should be able to bring that in.
Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying. So maybe I'll do that. But yeah, I was trying to, you got to make it look pretty.
Yeah.
I think that's all I was going to bother you guys about, unless you guys had questions or if I messed this up completely.
Yeah. So I'm just going to hit cancel there because I don't want to save my changes. Are you sure you don't want to revert my changes? Yes, you want to revert your changes. I feel like that's a real bad error message. Maybe we should write that down. And ready for publication. All right, I put everything back the way I had it, the way you had it. So
awesome, thank you. And I'll bother Matt to make sure he puts his phone number in his profile.
Yeah, that is.
See if that fixes it. And then Brandon, I'll have to tell him he has to go in and or go log out, log back in now that he's got editor access, and then he should be able to click it.
Yep, that should do it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the info.
Yeah, that was a good case study. Anybody else have anything that they're working on or thinking about? While I set this up. Okay. So yes, we are. So we're sending out a mass email. That's why I was a little bit late. I was trying to format it. But just to let folks know that we are going to release our 1.0.1 version of both the EDU and production environments, and focus mostly on fixing bugs that you all have reported, some problems with the way that some of the backend modeling is working, and really just increasing the user experience in terms of that. So they were the most important or most critical fixes that we could get done. And it's been just over 45 days now that we've been in the full transition to next gen. I think it was last Friday was the 45th day. And so that's kind of where I was doing the tracking. So we're just going to jump in and take a look. So on this, the left-hand side, this environment was updated this morning with the new release. And so just kind of walking through some of the things that you'll see as updates. And if anybody else wants to drive or tell me where to go, I'm happy to do that. But here, so one thing that's not demonstrated here, but will be part of this release, is that the headers on EDU and production are going to be different colors. And I believe that production is a charcoal. It's not black, but a charcoal kind of, it's like WFDSS blue. Or maybe it's IFDS blue, and EDU will be green, if I have that right. And so that's something that folks have asked for, just to be able to differentiate between the environments. So not only will it say what it is here and up here, but you'll see a different banner to know that you should be checking to see which environment you're in. You'll see that this My Activity section is no longer present. It's taken out over here. And I think another thing that is going to show up here, oh, well, it's in EDU already. The lead collaborator will show up once we have incidents in your watch list or in your My Active incidents. Am I missing anything on this page? I'm not sure if there's any URL changes. See, I know that there's a little bit of a change. Oh. Under the profile. And that's mostly on this side over here. We've added this general information tab to let folks know where this information is going to go, just full disclosure, and then cleaned up some of this other language. You'll see here we only have 4 tabs across the top, where we had several tabs across the top in the environments that you've been used to. And so we've just taken that out to clean it up a little bit. So we still have profile. If you're a geographic area editor, you'll still have your GAE profile. The system preferences, where you can set your initial page. And just, we kept this tab. And most of the things that we still have that are under development that we still display to the user have been remarked as this area is under development, just so you know that we're working on it. So that is what we have there. If we start into an incident, I'm looking at 2 different environments here. So this, I'm just gonna make this one bigger. Searching is gonna be the same, cleaned up this list. I mean, we didn't clean up this list, but when we get to collaborators, we'll see. So I think I was, yeah, looking at that fire earlier. You'll see that this is changed to POC none assigned because this decision has not been started yet. So it's actually filling in this incident info tab. If I start the decision, it immediately adds me as POC because I am the only POC. If I change it, I don't know who else is in here. If I add it, change it to Wes. One of the things that was throwing people off was that it was alphabetizing differently based on capitalization. And so now that's been taken care of. So I added Wes and I can add him as the POC. And if I save it and we go back to the incident info tab, it automatically changes the POC to Wes. That gives anybody who logs in or anybody who's not a collaborating editor the ability to get Wes's information and reach out to him to be added as a collaborator. So that opens in a new tab, which it always has. This is mostly out of my head, so if you guys have any other thoughts. So here, in terms of firefighter safety, I don't believe that this is changing anything here, but we do have this area is under development for weather. The next thing that was, if we're going left to right, top to bottom, in terms of existing analysis, there was a bug where editors, collaborating editors, including approvers, didn't have the ability to actually fill this out and save it. Or could they read it if someone else, so if an analyst wrote something here and saved it, they didn't have the ability to see it. And now that is something, so now collaborating editors can type in here, they can check this box, they can save it, and they can also mark it ready for publication. This is another fix, is that on some of the tabs, you were able to click ready for publication without adding any of the required information. You were able to bypass that. So that's been cleaned up as well. We have a lot more in the analysis, and we could come back to those. I don't believe there's anything in relative risk that we fixed in this release. Anybody? We still do have the analysis tab automatically turning on. And so that's something we're looking at for later, to be able to keep these so they don't automatically always on. They're one of the ones that is turned off, especially on incidents where you have lots of analyses.
I thought one thing in strategic assessment, Sarah, was it used to default to planning area, and now it just defaults to nothing.
Right.
And I think that's for both course of action and strategic assessment, so that won't automatically highlight when you get on that tab.
Right. Yes. So if I did mark it, so that's what was happening before, is it was automatically defaulting to planning area and it would turn it blue. So now I can just, yes, it doesn't default to anything. Good one. And I think multi-part shapes are now uploadable, whereas before we had to do them as single part shapes. And also that there was an error, like if you had collected your shape through a GPS that had an M or a Z field, I think, so like an elevation field, that was failing out on the upload as well. So those have been taken care of as well. So we shouldn't have problems with that. We also do have the ability to upload strategic shapes and course of action shapes. I think course of action shapes, we weren't able to upload them. I could check, but I'm pretty sure. I think that's one of the fixes as well for in terms of course of action.
Yeah, you're correct, Sarah.
Thank you. I don't know if there was anything under strategic course of action other than being able to add the
there was the strategy used to be called confine contain, and now it's just been switched to the NWCG confine.
There you go. But we haven't changed any of the boxes or the intent. I think that is all working as planned. Same with that. The cost. Okay, so here we are in the cost, and this is another good place to point out is that we've added this rich text box here. Before it was just plain text. So this will allow folks to be able to upload images of like if they did some spreadsheet work or anything like that and they wanted to add an image or they wanted to add a table, they can now do that to associate it with their narrative. You'll also notice that we were able to get rid of the bulleted list icon because that was, and so that's true of every rich text box that we have, that was causing errors in terms of being able to print or to create the PDF of the decision. Anywhere where there are bullets in the list, it doesn't understand that font, our PDF creator. However, if someone copies a bulleted list, I think it will still throw errors. So we just took away the easy way for doing bulleted lists, but if someone wants to try really hard, I think they can, still create bullets, which is a problem. But hyphens are fine. Anything that's an actual text. So we're still researching that and trying to get the font fixed on the backside. And so that's true of every rich text box that we have.
Yeah, that's something new there. That narrative now is a required field.
Of cost?
Yeah, for cost.
And then also, I think this is new too, is where we had some filler text in here. So anywhere where we had filler text that was for our use, it's been replaced with NA. So when we have the ability to pull this information, that will fill in from what was reported in Irwin, and the date and the time, or the source and the time. But yep, so that the narrative, all these fields are now required. Anything in Oregon complexity? I don't think so. And then as we talked about, so Sam said that the leader's intent is only going to be fillable by the collaborating editor that is marked as an approver. If you have multiple approvers, any of them could do it. They just have to be an approver that is a collaborator on this incident. And then, so supporting information, this area is under development. Any published decisions would go here. So you'll see, you can't see the decision and approval and assessment section until all of these are marked ready for publication. In the future, we'll have this automated and it'll validate based on all the ready for publication tabs that you've checked along the way. So you've locked those sections as you came through. But now, if I mark all of those that they are ready for publication and I confirm, I can check this ready for publication or ready for approval, and then it activates this decision approval and assessment box. So this isn't available until all of those are met. we still won't have this approver list. And I don't believe that this information will I think this is still accurate, that this does not persist, the approval notes. So if you do have if you have approval notes now, capturing them in the rationale might be the best place to make sure that those are documented. And so save, approve decision. So these preview, return for edit, and preview draft, those are not going to be available in this release. And I can sign the decision. This is just in one of our testing environments, so I'm not going to publish it. But let's go back to analysis, and we can talk about some of the things that happen there. And I'm going to lean pretty hard on the rest of the team on what some of those fixes are in terms of what they mean for folks. I do know that if if I wanted to request an analysis, this is required. Here with the rich text box, you'll see no more bulleted lists there. And I don't think there is any, other than if I requested an analysis, that it's a required description. I know if we add notes, that those will be, so here's general input. If I wanted to create a new note and say that it's weather, and say that this is, and I add a new note, which is not true anywhere, but that should add that weather note here with the title and the type. And we can sort by the title or the type. CW, what do you got?
Hey, I hate to be that guy again, but kind of curiosity on the analysis summary. Whose plate does that fall in? Is it the analyst or is it one of the editors? I know in the past, the FS Pro came with notes, and now it's there that it has to be one of the mandatory things. Is that going to be falling on the analyst that provides any notes, or is that going to be for an editor?
So, excuse me. Ideally, this is a place for the agency administrator to make notes, but I mean, also to be supported by the analysts and any other editors. So this is the place to talk about any analyses that are completed outside of the application. So anything that's not FS Pro, anything that they use to make their decision. And this is why this checkbox here is why that this is kind of an AA responsibility, is because they have the ability to decide whether or not they're going to use any of the analyses. Just because the analyst did it doesn't mean that they want to use it to document or to make their decision. Maybe they hate models or whatever, they can say, don't include any of these, even though we've run 2 or 3. You can say, we had analyses run here in the system for FS Pro, and we ran some outside in other systems, but they just really weren't calibrated in a way that matched the way that the fire was growing. And so we're going to hold off for now until we can get this figured out. And so that would be totally appropriate in terms of clicking don't include, or this fire is just way too small and we don't have the staff to run any analyses. And that's another valid thing to put there. So this is just, someone has to provide a justification why we are not including any analyses.
To make it easier for some AAs, I mean, obviously the intent of the new WFDSS is to make sure they go through it line by line a little bit more and have a little take, but is it something that maybe, I can fill out and then they can just look at it?
Yeah.
I just trying to figure out, because I clicked out, they did an FS Pro run in this fire, and I looked and I clicked it, and there's there's no notes, and I just reached out to the analyst, and it sounds like he's gonna talk to who assisted with that. But just trying to figure out, I got to fill that in so the box is checked, but just trying to figure out that I don't want to overstep the analyst there if that's where their notes are going to be included in the Wolf Dist or not.
So, and again, that is the general box, but if we go into an actual, let's bounce back out. We'll have the ability here to include indecisions. So that's I'm gonna go back into my analysis. And so it's going to, if we don't click this box here, do not include, and I do turn on include indecision, the results notes, Wes? Am I right? Am I wrong? Is that what's going to publish in the decision? Or is it the status notes? I can never remember.
The status notes.
Okay.
It'll be the status notes. And eventually when we get upgraded to ARC 11.3, we'll be able to put a templated map in the decision, but we can't do that right now. So if you want a copy of the outputs, you're just going to have to copy the map, right? You're going to have to take that print map functionality of the results and then put that in your analysis general section for now.
The analysis summary. Yeah.
Yeah, the analysis summary.
Yep.
So that just know that it won't automatically come in there even if you include it in the decision right now.
All right, I copy. So we'll just probably cover both bases and see if the analyst has any notes they want to put in there. If not, then maybe I'll fill something in there just to make sure that we did like that rapid risk assessment as well. But okay, I didn't know if that might be hanging up on his ability to approve as well.
Yeah, so it's not limited to approvers, but it's a good SOP, I think, to at least involve them in that, especially if they are, I mean, it proves that they've had a discussion and they understand which questions that each model is set up to answer and how that informed their decision.
Copy. Appreciate it.
So for the landscape, I think we've added, changed the way that the data sources look. So now the most recent will be on top, and took out the ones that were not, that are no longer supported by the Landfire Product Service. In terms of edit landscape, we did have on one of our lower environments, we had a problem generating landscapes where the masks, if a mask was used, it was failing at the Landfire Product Service. Something I want to point out here, just because I can, is that if you use the data source of ModFIS, so these are, you know, mostly for the Southwest US, but the coverage actually changes based on the version. So early spring covers a slightly different area than the spring itself. If you try to create a landscape in an area that isn't covered by the ModFIS layer, you will get, you won't get a failure from the Landfire Product Service. You will get a landscape back that has all the other portions of the landscape, except for all your fuel models will be 0. And so it won't show a failure here. You just won't see it on your map. And the only way to actually be able to tell is to click on it and sort by, or look at the actual fuel model values in the pop-up and see that it's 0. If we send zeros in terms of fuel model to the fire modeling services framework, we will get a failure and it'll come back with something that says referring to the ignition. And so that's the error, is that it's all zeros, which isn't a valid fuel model in terms of Landfire Product Service. So I said that because I could. I don't think we did recognize that there is Um, I want to multiply. Oh, yeah, that's not what I wanted. Sorry, my brain wasn't working. So if my fuel model is, and I want to change my canopy base height, this was only taking, oh, no, it's not taking anything. We weren't able to put in whole numbers. It was less than 1. So you could multiply it by 0.1 or 0.5, which is really dividing. So that's been fixed, it looks like. And that should be true of canopy bulk density too. Looks like that one maybe didn't get fixed. So that's just something to look at. I don't think there's anything else in terms of the edit landscape. Big one is really the weather, and there's a lot going on here. One of the big ones is that sometimes this takes a while to save. And so folks were coming up with a lot of errors that were actually created based on not being patient, not meditating while we're pushing the save button. And so if you clicked multiple times, then you got stuck in this error loop. So we should have on each section, I think. We don't. So you have the ability to save at any time. Oh, yeah, there's lots of errors. I know. What else? We shouldn't be able to select our current year. Yeah, thanks. As part of our stream. Is that correct? Our classes, yes. So our ERC classes, you can't pick the current year because it's not a complete year. Somebody want to jump in? Do it.
No, I was just confirming what you were saying, Sarah.
Thanks. So I think that is true. So that is just of the ERC classes. We've got 15 minutes until, I don't know if you're having spatial fire planning office hours today. Rick, go ahead.
Hey, Sarah, real quick, while you've got the screen shown here and you've got this table, your right-hand panel expanded out and you can see all the columns in the ERC classes. We're still seeing a lot of folks who are making runs even for actual fires and they're not changing any of their live fuel moistures. Where WFDSS Classic kind of had some things dialed in for calculating the fuel moistures that go with your ERC classes. FEMS is still working on that. So a lot of the time you'll just see these bottomed out live fuel moistures for herbaceous fuel moisture and woody fuel moisture. And people really need to be on top of looking at those and changing them appropriately. So just another reminder. And also we've had a couple of questions on how people get to those columns on the right, burn period, spotting probability, and spotting delay, because they don't see them in the view when you don't have this right-hand panel expanded. So for several things in the application, if you make this right-hand panel bigger, you see all of your options. So just a couple of reminders there. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Rick. So yeah, as you can see, when I have that minimized here, you can't see all of your pieces. And I know that everyone probably does this. I always hit this button right here to expand my panel instead of this button right here. Why won't it go? And that's really just to cycle through this top row of tabs. Well, I made this really angry by trying to save without anything in there. I don't think that there's anything else in here. There's been some back end adjustments, and I think another big one that that Rick brought up this morning is if you have completed everything on this tab and saved it as of today, but you have not actually run the analysis, if you try and run this weather that you've saved before today, you'll get a failure on your analysis. So once the deployment is completed tomorrow, it's a good idea just to rerun your weather tab before you run an analysis. And this will be true in EDU and in prod. What else is over here? Rick did some amazing sleuthing and found out what was causing identical subsequent runs to come up with different results. And I think that's been fixed. Ooh, that took a while. So see here, I had that save bar at the top, but I still have this save bar down here. Should wait for everything to stop. I think I got in a bad cycle though. Anything else over here on the analysis tab?
Nope, I think you hit all the high points there.
Whew.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Morgan, TJ, did I miss anything else? Ooh, Eamon.
I got a quick question for you. So for editors assigned to as a collaborator to be able to see your completed analyses, which categories do analysts need to complete those? Is it completed for strategic use and operational use? They'll be able to see those if they're not an analyst? Because I've been having issues with people being able to see runs.
I believe that's true.
Yes, those are the ones that should be able to see it. And if you have folks that aren't able to see those runs, let us know.
So once their status says completed for strategic or operational, then they should be viewable by anyone who's a collaborator.
Correct.
Thanks.
That's right. And going further, I think Wes is working with folks to try and figure out what we need to do to have those be available in a service outside of the application, so that they can be used in dashboards or any of the other things.
Very cool.
Coming
Thanks.
soon. Okay, we've got about 10 minutes left. Any other questions? I don't think I finished this thought earlier, but in terms of people that have approved accounts, so approved accounts for roles above viewer, so editor and above, in both applications, we have almost 5,000. So it looks like 4,800 something. Only about a half of those folks have actually been into each of the applications. So there's at least 1,000 people on each application that have approved roles that haven't been into the application, and that's fine, but that's also a lot of times why we're not seeing them when we try and find them in the incident under the user search. So that is one of the first places you can check if you can't find your collaborator under the list. Like, again, this is just one of our testing environments. So if I search for everybody, there's not that many people. There's 51 people. Oh, yeah. Well, okay. So and that's not including viewers. So these folks that have the viewer role here, they're automatically given viewer role in any application based on how we whitelisted folks through FAMOS. So they've come in here and figured out they couldn't do anything. But that's another thing to check, is if they're showing as viewer, that means they need to log out, log back in, or check to see if their actual account for, or their role for the application has been approved. So editor or above. Any other questions? Okay. That makes sense. So I didn't get any confirmation. I guess Wes isn't here anymore. I don't know. Do we know if there is a spatial fire planning office hours today? I haven't looked. Immediately following.
I think Jonah is out, so
yeah. I wasn't sure if Susan was gonna do it.
It's not canceled, but I would say it's probably not going to happen. So people can feel free to jump on there, but I'm pretty sure Jonah's out, so I don't think they're having it.
Okay. All right. With that, I'll let folks move on with their day. One last thing is that the WFDSS workshop that we had last week, where we had 13 half-hour to an hour-long sessions. Those will be posted as soon as I get them back from the RIST. They've been really busy, but they want to process those videos first. And so I saw that they had some videos done, but not quite ours yet. So as soon as those are done, I'm going to cross-post them onto our YouTube page so folks can find them there if you missed them. And I encourage you, if you have the time or ability, to join in on the fire behavior workshop this week. I think there's still some sessions today maybe, and then tomorrow for sure there's a couple sessions. So enjoy.